Disgraced former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich is back home in Chicago this morning after President Trump commuted his sentence and set him free. He's one of 11 people the president granted clemency to yesterday, including high-profile white-collar criminals. Part of that group is former junk bond king Michael Milken and former NFL owner Eddie DeBartolo Jr., who both received pardons. So they were all convicted of charges that included fraud, corruption, and lying. CBS News White House correspondent Paula Reid is following this story for us. So, Paula, when I heard about all of these clemencies happening all at the same time, I did think to myself, why and why now? Why is the president doing this?
Well, likely the specific timing has something to do with distracting, taking some of the attention away from Democrats. But the president said his method is that he is relying on personal recommendations, mostly from his famous friends, when deciding where to apply his vast pardon power. Now, Anne-Marie, the Justice Department actually has a formal vetting process for anyone who submits a pardon process. And the way the president is going about this is raising some concerns that clemency in this administration is mostly being doled out to those with connections.
So let's speak about that. Blagojevich. His case was something that the president certainly paid attention to over the years. Blagojevich was a contestant on The Apprentice at one point. And when the former governor reported for prison in 2012, President Trump, Citizen Trump at the time, tweeted criticism, of that sentence. So what has the reaction been in and around Washington about Blagojevich's commutation?
Not good, Anne-Marie. It appears that most of the reaction has been negative. They've suggested that this undermines efforts to increase public confidence, that public officials will be held to the same standards if they try to do anything that is fraudulent or deceptive. And public corruption is a big problem, particularly in the state of Illinois, but in various areas across the country. And a lot of folks responded to this, saying this sends the wrong message. But it's been interesting to watch who the president has really focused on, not just this week, but during his whole time in office. He seems especially interested in cases that he believes were unfair prosecutions or anything that would sort of lay the groundwork for him to be able to pardon some of his 6 associates who were caught up in the Mueller probe without making it look like he was just helping out his friends. So we have seen him grant clemency to several folks, Dinesh D'Souza, Scooter Libby, Sheriff Arpaio, folks that the president believed were targets of politically motivated investigations. It appears he is possibly laying the groundwork to then issue pardons to a few of his 6 associates who have either pleaded guilty or been convicted by juries as part of cases from the special counsel investigation.
Like possibly Roger Stone. Obviously, everyone knows how critical he was. But I guess, and we also know that he doesn't necessarily have to wait for a sentence to issue a pardon because he's done it before.
That's right.
We don't know, though, right?
We don't know, and the president won't say. He says he hasn't thought about it. That's hard to believe because he's been asked about it about half a dozen times in the past week. And he's, of course, tweeted about everything having to do with his case. Stone's jury, Stone's judge, Stone himself, his own Justice Department. But we've actually seen this pretty consistently with the president. He has not been willing to get too far out over his skis in terms of promising pardons or weighing in on that for the folks who have been involved in the special counsel investigation. He was asked repeatedly if he would consider pardoning his former campaign chairman, Paul Manafort, who was really one of the first high-profile people to refuse to cooperate in the special counsel investigation. Manafort went to trial. He was convicted. Then he had a separate case where he pleaded guilty. His whole defense strategy, Anne-Marie, was based on the expectation that he would get a pardon. We saw in the Mueller report that there were some back-channel conversations about potential pardons for his deputy campaign chairman, Rick Gates, who also pleaded guilty in this case. So while the president hasn't been willing to commit to pardons, there is a healthy expectation, it appears, that he may grant clemency to some of the folks who did not cooperate in this case. Now, as I said, he had at least 6 associates who pleaded guilty or been convicted. I'm not saying all of them will be pardoned, but Paul Manafort seemed pretty confident that he would ultimately get a pardon, but the president doesn't seem to be in a hurry. And Marie, if he waits till the end of his term, if he's reelected, that could be another 5 years. And Paul Manafort is not a young man, nor is he a healthy man. So we're really just watching to see how the president handles all of his associates who got caught up in that.
Yeah, by the way, Roger Stone scheduled to be sentenced tomorrow. In the meantime, Attorney General William Barr has been the recipient of backlash over his involvement in Stone's sentencing. He sort of reversed the suggestion from his prosecutors, the sentencing suggestion. So, but then sort of came these headlines that, you know, he was upset with the president for tweeting about this and maybe even considering quitting. Is there any truth to that?
Yeah, we saw that last week where he came out and he did a network television interview where he told the president to stop tweeting. It appeared to be part of an effort. He didn't have to go on national TV to say that. It appeared to be part of an effort to talk to the rank and file, to talk to the general public and put space between him and the president amid these increasing concerns about political influence at the department. And Marie, whether you should believe this, well, it's up to our viewers to decide. I have spoken with some people who have said the Attorney General has told some folks close to the president that he's actually considered quitting over these tweets. But, Anne Marie, as we know, the president has a long history of using his Twitter account to pressure his own Justice Department. I mean, look at what he said about Jeff Sessions. He called him beleaguered, unfair, even disgraceful. Attorney General William Barr was on notice that these Twitter attacks were part of the job when he took this position. He knew this would be part of it. So really, it does not appear likely that he would just be willing to quit over some annoying tweets. It's more likely that this is part of the public relations effort to shore up the confidence of the rank and file and the general public that he is not just working for the president and doing whatever it is the president instructs him to do on Twitter. Also, last night, a Justice Department spokeswoman came out and said, of course, Barr is not considering resigning at this time.
All right. Paula Reid, thank you so much.